Welcome to Impact the World, a podcast from West Park Baptist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. This is where we discuss topics related to how we can all love God, love people, and impact the world. Here's your host, Tara Hayes.
I'm your host, Tara Hayes, and today we have a very exciting episode lined up for you. I am sitting down with one of our favorites, Pastor Al. Hey, Pastor Al.
Hello, Tara. So good to be here again.
It's so good to have you. Pastor Al is going to give us a fantastic introduction, as he always does, to a very special organization that means a lot to not just West Park, but especially to Knox Haven. Would you like to tell us who our special guests are today?
Sure. We have the Executive Director for Street Hope, April, and we have Miss Carletta with us, one of our favorite members.
You better wear that badge proudly.
Yeah, well.
Next week when you come to church, you can have the sash, one of the favorite
That's
members.
it, one of the favorites.
Yeah, that's right. But today we're going to sit down. Pastor Al's going to be with us just a little bit and talk about the partnership between Street Hope and Knox Haven, and he's going to talk about how that works and what it looks like. And then I'm going to release him, let him go. He has other duties, but I'm going to continue on the conversation with April, and we'll talk about, and Carletta, and talk about Street Hope and what they do and ways to get involved. And I'm just excited about this conversation today.
Well, I'm excited about the conversation as well. As you know, Knox Haven has been assembled to gather together under one heading a bunch of initiatives. And I think the main target of what we're attempting to do through Knox Haven is address issues that people struggle with, or issues that are of crisis nature. And when I think about Street Hope, it's kind of a mixed feeling. On one hand, I'm so excited to be here to talk about this topic. But on the other hand, it's a distressing topic. It's one of those topics that I wish we did not have to talk about.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, living in a fallen world with people who struggle in many different ways, this is one of those topics we need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that through the years, Street Hope has been established and is doing just an outstanding job of addressing those that are most vulnerable.
Yeah.
So as we get into the discussion, one of the things I would ask is this. If there's anyone out there that's listening to this podcast and you suspect in any way whatsoever that this issue could be threatening someone that you know of, we need to hear from you. One of the ways that we will need to address this issue is to make sure that it doesn't stay hidden or underground, but most of all, that it's not ignored, because it's very, very serious. So looking forward to this topic, and I'm so glad to be here.
Well, good. I'm excited about this. I feel the same as you. I'm excited because I want more people to know about Street Hope. It's a very important organization, but it is distressing that it isn't even a need. And I think a little bit later we'll talk about just some different aspects, what April calls the situation, things about human trafficking that I don't think most people know. But April, do you want to, or Carletta, share the mission and of Street Hope and just your main goal?
Yes. This is April, and our mission is to eliminate the sexual exploitation and trafficking of children and provide safe environments to foster healing and hope through Jesus Christ. And we do that, we carry out our mission in 4 different ways: through awareness, prevention, restoration, and prayer. And I can talk a little bit more about each of those things.
Yeah, that would be great. Before we do that, because I know there's a lot to unpack under each of those different topics or the ways that you do that, let's talk about the situation, because I think, sadly, most people are not fully aware of what human trafficking looks like, not just in our country, but also locally and in our state. And when you sent this to me and I read that, I was like, oh my word. I mean, and I'm not completely blind to what is going on, but I think just to share some of these things that are actually happening is eye-opening for the population. So.
Yes. Well, I think a lot of what you see out there in the media, and I know last year the movie The Sound of Freedom came out, and that was really, that introduced a lot of people to us here locally. So that's been a huge blessing as far as our ministry. But that movie shows more of what's happening internationally and what's been going on internationally for over 10 years, really longer. But here locally, it looks so different on how children are being targeted. And just to give you a few statistics, every 2 minutes in the United States, a child is sold for sex. And the average age of that child who becomes a victim is 13. And we serve survivors, and that's very true to what we're seeing.
Wow.
Here in the state of Tennessee, an average of 94 children are sold online for sex each and every month. And those two statistics I just gave about the United States, the every 2 minutes and the 94 children a month, those are pretty old statistics that were given before the pandemic.
Oh,
so
they've probably changed drastically.
Absolutely, because children are mainly being targeted so often through internet, gaming systems, social media, technology. And when you think about what children were doing during the pandemic, they couldn't get out and go anywhere. And they're not generally sitting at home and reading a book.
Yeah.
They are on their phones, they're on their gaming systems. And so you've got to believe that number has definitely risen.
Wow. Well, when I first read that, every 2 minutes in the United States, and the age of 13-year-olds, I mean, that was really overwhelming, to think every 2 minutes. And I think most people I shouldn't say most people, I would say a lot of people don't even realize that this is an issue. I mean, it is coming more to light, like you said, with the movie last year. But I think to do what we can to get the word out there and to educate people about what is going on, but how to prevent and how to work through awareness and restoration, all that. So I'm looking forward to that. I also saw here that, and this I'm sure feeds into that pandemic number, human trafficking is the fastest growing and second largest organized crime in the world behind drug trafficking. Can you talk a little bit, because I know, and maybe you don't have a lot to say about this, but I know I had just learned like probably 2 or 3 years ago that one of the big events is the Super Bowl, that there's a lot of human trafficking that happens at the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I know that doesn't really play into locally, but that just gets you thinking, like, so what are big things that would be happening in our area where we need to be aware? Yeah,
it's really, I mean, we talk about the Super Bowl quite often because really it's any large sporting event is where it can be possible. So, I mean, that this is a big sports town. I know it's more so on a college level, but it's the same thing. We need to be alert and watch out for those things possibly happening here at our larger events like that. Tourism, where tourism is so we're very close to tourism here in Knoxville and throughout East Tennessee. So,
and we're also very close to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a major hub for human trafficking. So it's touching our area.
Well, and we're also the crossroads of 40 and 75.
That's
and
exactly
I would say
right.
that is a huge, for trucking and driving and traveling and moving things. And sadly, we're talking people. Mm-hmm. We are right at the crossroads and we're close to every major city. That's Atlanta.
Exactly right.
Atlanta, Cincinnati. All of these within Nashville, within a very quick drive. So things are easily dispersed.
Right.
So
What's made us such a growing city over the past, 20 years is one of the reasons why we are such a top location for this. And I often show a heat map in presentations that shows you how just the eastern United States is so much dramatically more in the red, but especially like Pastor Al said, Atlanta is the biggest red blob. And then from there, the cities that surround Atlanta, Knoxville being one of them, you see
Wow.
more like red blobs that are growing.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we ought not be blind to the fact that it's not an issue out there.
Right.
It is an issue here in our community. And again, as we look at some of the initiatives that we have here, really headquartered out of our church, we have seen the impact of human trafficking.
Yeah.
And again, the issue is, what do we do about it? And that's why I'm so pleased again to have Street Hope here to talk with us.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about one of the things that you mentioned, that the way you carry out your mission is through awareness. And let's talk about awareness and prevention a little bit. What are some of the ways that you bring about awareness?
Yes, well, and awareness and prevention has been a part of Street Hope since we began. Almost 10 years ago. But we provide a lot of different awareness initiatives through events, presentations. We go to different churches and different church partners all across East Tennessee, and we even have some now outside of East Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
So we've been rapidly growing, especially over the past couple of years. But we provide, we do also, and awareness and prevention go hand in hand.
Right.
We have a prevention education department with instructors that go into schools and churches, organizations, providing these trainings on what domestic minor sex trafficking is. We teach internet safety classes for both adults, for parents, caretakers, grandparents, as well as children. Those are two separate classes because we teach that in two totally different ways.
Yeah.
We've got to speak
wise.
differently. So we are always teaching middle and high school students. We have a program in Knox County schools and in other public schools as well, where we offer curriculum for health and wellness teachers, as well as we have instructors. More often than not, though, the teachers want us to be in the school,
I'm sure.
giving that education because we're staying up on it far more than they're able to.
Yeah.
So we're in schools almost every day.
Wow. That's exciting, actually.
Yeah. We really, the prevention and awareness side is so important because we want to do whatever we can to stop this before it starts in families, because this darkness, there is no limit to where this darkness travels. It can, any income, any race, any situation, any type of home. There are so many, through these trainings, we have had children come to us or people that have said, I think I know a child in the situation.
Wow.
And so it's really brought to light what is happening here locally and really helped stop it before it goes any farther.
Wow. Well, I think there's some misconception, and you kind of touched on the online aspect, because I was reading through the notes that you sent me. And you said that so many people have this idea that, well, kids are human trafficked because they've been kidnapped, or, something like they get taken. But so often, and probably more often, you're seeing it happens through online.
It happens through online, and it happens through people that the child already know.
Like their families.
Exactly.
That's
So sad.
Exactly.
disheartening. Very.
Yes. And sadly, one of the most often family members who are responsible for this is the mother. So we are seeing this happen with families trafficking their own children in exchange for rent or drugs, all sorts of situations. We actually have a survivor who is a volunteer with us now, and she has been healed from all the trauma of this, and she loves to share her story now. Well, she talks about how her own mother and convinced her that it was the right thing to do because it was keeping the family from filing bankruptcy.
Oh, my word.
So
That's
she
devastating.
thought that was what she was
What she
supposed to
supposed
do
to
for
do.
her family.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to work through.
Yeah, it is.
So in prevention, do you, I'm sure you do, talk about what to look for? Like, what would be some signs, like where you'd say, I think something's a little off? there.
Yeah.
All right, now everybody listen up. This is important
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, often with a child, the signs that you can look for, definitely a change in personality, the way they communicate. They'll often become more introverted or want to stay to the side with their phone. A lot of times, you know how, I don't know if you've ever noticed how children, when they're on their phones, they are often sharing pictures and things they're posting on social with each other.
Yeah.
Well, this child would usually try to hide that from the other children around them. So I would say, like, especially for youth pastors, anybody, teachers, anybody that's working with children on a daily basis, that's something to watch out for, is if they become more secretive about what they're doing on their phones. They often wear loose clothing. They might become more unkempt. You know, they like
Their
not,
appearance can
yeah,
change.
their appearance just changes, and you know, they might not look like they're really keeping up with their appearance as much. Also, one thing that I've learned since I've been at Street Hope is if you see them carrying a lot of cash, that is usually a possible sign, because what child has cash? Yeah.
What person in general, right?
I know, but you know, and
but especially a child.
yeah, and children, you know, they love to show things off anyway. So if they're carrying cash, if they have new things like new technology, they often
That
get
seem really out of place.
new phones, new things like that just seem like they're suddenly getting things that they didn't have before.
Yeah. Wow. That I'm glad to have some things to look for. And I think just knowing what to look for, but knowing what to do in that situation and how to approach that. And I'm sure you talk about this in all of your classes and stuff like that, the prevention classes. Would you reach out to an agency? Would you reach out to Street Hope and say, I think that there's a situation here?
Well, and we get that sometimes, and we definitely want people to reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help. But it ends up needing to be something that's reported to the police.
That's what I thought.
So we often give out the 800 number to TBI. We also encourage to contact local law enforcement, but it always becomes something if you expect something, report
you
it.
You have to report
and
it.
even if you're out somewhere where something just looks questionable, it's better to report it than not report it.
Right.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could literally be saving that child's life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you find that TBI is very responsive to these reports?
Well, yes. Well, we've got a great relationship with TBI.
Good.
So, but yes, our experiences, they have been. They've got actually a new human trafficking team that, so things have been shifting a little bit, and we have been, just trying to keep up with what's going on there from the restoration side, because we take referrals from them.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
Again, this is a good thing the government does for us. We hear a lot of the negatives.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when it comes
This
to
is a good
protecting
thing.
a child, this is a good thing.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And the state of Tennessee, actually an organization called Shared Hope, we have collaborated with them, and we go to their conferences, their annual conferences, but they do a report card every year.
Oh, wow.
And this year, the first state ever received an A for their fight in human trafficking, and it was the state of Tennessee.
Way to go, Tennessee.
Yes.
That's
Let's
awesome.
keep it going, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. And I'm sure Street Hope played a large part in that. And I'm
Yes,
sure.
but there's still a lot of work to do.
Yes, there is
Yeah.
definitely. Along the same lines with the prevention, in the notes that you sent me, I wanted to talk about this recommendation for parents, this app called Bark.
Yeah, and Bark loves us because we love to talk about them. So, like, we are not getting any sort of compensation from them. but we just, again, we try to share the resources. We offer free trainings to anybody and everybody so that they are able to receive this education. But Bark is an app. It helps parents protect their kids online it offers monitoring, screen time management, web blocking. So it's a great app. When it's time to give your kid a phone,
When they turn 25.
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell I don't have children?
Yes, we don't. We're not necessarily fans of giving your child a phone at a very early age.
Right.
But sometimes it becomes needed, especially for maybe single parent households with, working different shifts and things like that. So, there's definitely situations. So there are ways that we want to provide to protect your children.
Safely have
Yes.
the phone.
A question back on the reporting. Some people are a little bit hesitant to report because they don't want to get involved. I would presume that the system is set up so people can report anonymously.
Yes.
All right, so that's important for people to understand.
Yes.
It's better to err on caution.
Mm-hmm.
If you suspect something's going on, it's better to report it. But I also have another question. Do you ever see where someone reports fictitiously, knowing it's not a case, but maybe they're targeting someone and they want to get them in trouble? Does that ever happen?
Well, I'm going to say it probably has. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be the one to speak to that. It would need to be somebody from the law enforcement, but, that has had to happen.
Probably.
Yeah. And so we've got to trust that they're trained properly to handle that.
Yeah,
but
that's probably why they are very diligent, I'm sure, to check out everything that is reported to them. I do know somebody who is on the TBI task force. And, I think they have to, it's kind of like when you make a threat against a government, they are required to report or to check out each one of those.
Yeah. But the important thing is to take that first initiative
Yeah.
and make that report.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the system is set up to vet through those and to weed out ones that are, spurless and really to not have any basis to them.
Well, when I do the show notes for this, I'll get those numbers from you, and we'll include that, along with, of course, Street Hope's website. But those numbers are important to have. I think to have them in your phone already, when you're faced with that situation, because I've heard several people say, I was at a restaurant, or I happened to be at a truck stop, or I was somewhere that just saw something that I didn't think was right.
Yeah.
And to have that number in your phone so that you don't have to think, I'll look it up later, or I've got to look it up now, or whatever, but to be ready to do that immediately, I think is important. So we'll make that available in our show notes.
Thank you.
For people. Yeah. So, I think prevention and awareness obviously are huge part of what you do. And that's kind of on the educating side of this. And I love that app. I think that maybe we can put a link to that in the show notes as well.
Yes.
Maybe we can get you some sponsorship from Bart.
I know. I feel like by now we need to. Maybe they can be a Hopeful Rise sponsor or something.
Yeah. We should be getting some kind of sponsorship, but yeah. So I know there's all kinds of prevention and awareness and stuff that we can talk about, and I know that's on your website, and like I said, that'll be on the show notes, and that's just a part of what you do. I mean, you all do so much. I know one of the really big things that you want to talk about is the restoration side of this. And I know Carletta is also involved in this some. And so let's talk about restoration. And your biggie would be?
Oh, my goodness. Well, something I didn't even put in the notes, but I will just share because it's such a big deal every time it happens. But we had a graduation last night.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, we had someone complete the program.
That's awesome. So talk a little bit about the program. How long is it?
Well, it varies based on the girl.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And in fact, we don't take state or government funding so that we can provide whatever length of time she needs.
Yeah.
But our home, it's called Garland Oaks.
Yay.
And it's in an undisclosed location in East Tennessee.
That sounds so official, which it is, and that's good.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
But
That's right.
Yes. But it is for child trafficking survivors ages 12 to 17. We are the only safe home in East Tennessee that offers this to survivors.
And you have, not been in existence. Garland Oaks has
No.
not been in existence very long.
Not at all. No, we are, and we're actually one of the first safe homes in the country.
I was going to say, this is a very new concept.
Yes, back when we first began this concept 6 years ago, I know that at that time there were less than 100 beds specific
Wow.
to these type of survivors. And so, but we have had our home open for 2 years now.
Wow.
This
okay,
month,
time has flown.
Yes.
Because
It
I was
really
like,
has.
I thought it was like a year. I lost a year somewhere. But
well, we
that's
began.
great.
Yeah, we began the concept exactly 6 years ago yesterday.
Wow.
So,
Oh, neat. And to have your first year, to have a graduation yesterday, that's awesome.
So yeah, but in April of what year are we in?
No,
2022.
24, yeah.
Of 2022, we opened our doors and have been serving
Awesome.
survivors since.
That's fantastic. How many can you house at one time?
We've got 10 bedrooms.
Wow.
And each girl will have her own bedroom, so we can have up to 10 girls at one time. And going back to a question that you asked that I don't think I really answered, but each girl, we're seeing on average, each resident will stay for around 12 to 18 months.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So
Wow. That's neat. And so, is there a person that lives there with them in the home? I'm assuming because they're between the ages of 12 and 17, they're probably not taking care of themselves.
Well, there is not
gonna
anyone living on site, but that's where I get to brag on my staff
Ah.
because we have a full direct care staff who are working different shifts 24/7 to take care of these girls.
Wow.
We have our direct care staff. We have a clinical team and that includes therapists who are providing all types of therapy from individual to group sessions to art therapy. We have equine therapy. So we offer all of this type of therapy and counseling. And then we've got an on-site classroom with a teacher, a teacher's aide, and volunteers
Wow.
who are providing their schooling.
But that really is so much better than trying to think that like a house parent or a
Yeah.
house couple would stay, and because there's no way they could do all of that.
No, one
You
thing.
need that team.
Yes, and this is one of those jobs that you've got to keep yourself from experiencing burnout anyway.
Yeah.
And so we provide a spiritual care coordinator for our staff.
That's awesome.
And we do all that we can to take care of them.
Yeah.
So the turnover rate is not as high as you would often see in these types of homes.
Wow. That's wonderful.
But yes, we have an amazing staff.
Well, I know that Knox Haven just partnered with, and Carletta led that donation drive for Garland Oaks. And so I
Yes.
know that's something that's near and dear to the heart of Knox
Yes.
Haven.
Thank
the
you
West
all.
Park.
Yeah, thank you all for doing that. Of course, you have been our longtime church partner that has come through for us in so many different ways. But yes, Stock the House is what we recently all did together, and you helped provide supplies to have us stocked up for a year.
That's awesome.
Carletta, thank you so much for
Yes.
doing that effort.
Yes.
It was my pleasure. It really was. This is something very close to my heart, and so anything that I can do. So Stock the House, I got real excited about it,
That's exciting.
and it was wonderful as the barrels filled up with donations. It just really, it makes you smile.
Yeah.
And thank you, West Park, for responding.
Yes.
This is one of those initiatives that as often as you want to do it, we'll make a way.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There are lots of ways. I mean, Garland Oaks is an amazing, and I just can't wait to see the way that God continues to use it and these girls that come through this program. I mean, God has amazing plans for that, I'm sure. And
Oh,
I
yes.
love that we get to be a part of that and to watch it. And
Yeah.
That's a great question. So when you see someone graduate, and are they ready at that point to re-enter, let's say, society or whatever we would call it? But what do you think happens with a person that's graduated from your program?
Well, it's always going to look a little different based on their situation because they could vary in age. They could be between that 12 and 17 range. So a lot of times they've got to finish off their schooling. They haven't reached that stage of graduating high school yet, or middle school even. But but they continue to go. As you said, our goal is to get them back out into society. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
any of them go back to their families?
The ones who are private placements, so we do take state referrals, but we also have private placements that we accept.
Okay.
So in those situations, yes, they will go back to their families. And we help provide family therapy to help the families with that transition back home. So yes, so that
Wow.
Okay. And I'm really just thinking about if that's another opportunity for our church to partner with you. That there may be a graduate that needs that kind of ongoing support, and that gives us something to think about.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's a really good segue, Pastor Al. I mean, there's so many ways to get involved with Street Hope. One of the big ones, and one of the things that I know is nearest and dearest to Carletta, is one of the ways that you talked about meeting your mission and your goal is through prayer. And I want to talk about that because this is a way that no matter who you are, where you are, what stage of life, everybody can get involved in this way through prayer for Street Hope. So,
That's right.
Carletta, she leads the way on this part
Yes,
of the
she
initiative.
does.
So,
Prayer. We meet twice a month. Once at Street Hope. That's during the day.
Yes.
And one night a month. It's used to rotate, but it's more now at Calvary.
Yeah, it's at Calvary Chapel off John Sevier.
But the four things that we always pray about, one, we pray for the victims, that they will be seen, that they will be found, that they will get the help that they need. Another is churches and nonprofits, that more people will become involved. Third is law enforcement, that the law enforcement will have the tools that they need, and that they will see what they need to see when it comes to victims. And the fourth is for the perpetrators, which I will just be really honest, was one of the hardest things for me to learn to pray for, until the Lord reminded me that, hey, I died for them too. So, they're worthy of
kind of a
redemption
stomach
as well.
punch in the stomach.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it really is. But the perpetrators they'll be caught, and that they will be sentenced. And the way that I personally pray for them is that when they go to prison, that they will encounter a strong Bible-based ministry that will lead them to the Lord and transform their lives forever.
Wow.
So prayer is a really big thing, and something I wanted to share was when we first started the prayer group for Street Hope, and one of the things we were praying about was a restoration home. And so when the things started falling into place for Garland Oaks, I was on shouting ground. I was just so excited because it was just to see the Lord work, how He worked from that first prayer meeting, and just the idea to how He brought it all about. And so it's, prayer works, people. Don't ever think that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Prayer works.
Well, and I know you've been a part of that prayer team for years.
For years, yes, from the beginning.
Wow.
And at one point, we were rotating different churches each month to pray, and we prayed here at West Park for a while.
Yeah.
So it was nice to partner in that way.
Well, I know when I think of Street Hope, I think of you.
Oh.
I do think of you because you're such a champion for this organization, and I think it's great. And
when I found out that trafficking was happening, not just in the United States, but that it was happening in my city, I was amazed and I was outraged.
yeah,
I was like, how could something that evil be happening here in my city? We got to do something about it.
yeah.
So when Julie Sanders was like, would you be a part of the prayer team? I was like, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's pray.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So if somebody wanted to get involved with the prayer team, could they contact you?
Actually, sure.
Is there
Yes.
a different, better way to get
There
involved?
is a better way.
You can tell me the better way, and we'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
Because I think that's a very important way for people to get involved. And you are seeing answers to prayer. I mean, Garland
absolutely.
Oaks, and you're seeing lives changed. And like I said, it's something that everybody can do. So
Yes.
And it's a simple way, people think, well, I can't counsel and I can't be a part of the staff. Yeah, but you can pray.
yeah.
Everyone can pray.
Yeah. And like you said, when you realize to what extent is happening all around us, it is something that we should take note of and
Absolutely.
spend time in prayer about.
Sometimes we throw around labels, and there's one that really gets a lot of negative press to it, and that's that term victims. But in this case, we're truly talking about people
Victims.
that have been victimized.
Yes.
And so to have a heavy emphasis on praying for these victims is very, very important. So I really appreciate the focus of the prayer ministry there. And it certainly seems like it's dialed in exactly where it needs to be.
Well, I mean, you think about the potential for some of these victims. People that don't know them, that are praying for them, could be some of the only people at that time that
Right.
care about them.
Exactly.
yeah.
Depending on how they got there, if they've been given up by family members or friends or whatever. I mean, that may be the only source of true care at that time. I mean, we know that God knows where they are and He cares, but humanly speaking, to pray for them is such an important part. And I know it. I appreciate Carletta and how you're dedicated to that ministry. It's
Yeah. Well, of course,
Touching.
I appreciate Carletta so much. And I will say, too, I know the ones who are still out there, they might not know how much we pray for them, but the survivors in our home, they are fully aware of these prayer teams, of the people who are coming together to pray for them. And it really changes their hearts. It helps them know, and it just helps increase that confidence that we're working on anyway.
yeah.
So we do provide monthly prayer guides as well. So
Okay.
if people are not able to come to either of the prayer gatherings, they can always sign up for our prayer guide to come out
okay.
each month for them.
Is that on your website? Through
We-
the website or somewhere else?
I believe they can sign up for our email list overall there, but
Okay.
they'll get on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can just reach out to me. I'll somehow get you on there.
We'll make it happen.
Yes.
Great. So, outside of or besides the prayer, praying for Street Hope, the other ways that you can get involved. Why don't you talk about a few of those we could talk about, there's a lot we could talk about for hours, but let's talk about the ways that people can get involved.
Yes, I'd love to. Well, of course, we've talked about prayer and all the ways to do that. Of course, our website, streethopetn.org, I know we've already mentioned that, but you're going to always be able to stay up to date on there, but also by following us on social media. We're really active on Facebook and Instagram. And so those are two great places to watch and see what's going on, especially with what's going on in the home and understanding what we're doing, what we need, what our upcoming trainings are. But I do want to say for anybody, and a lot of people may already be aware of our Hope Will Rise event. That is our largest annual fundraiser. But that is coming up on September 10th. I know that's a little ways off, but
It'll be here before you know it.
Exactly. But it's a Tuesday night. It's a dinner event that takes place probably 6:30 p.m. And
Isn't that when all dinners
yes,
that raise money take place?
that is true. But it's a great night to come together, and sometimes people will buy tables just to get their small group together, but it's a great way to come together and celebrate what God has done over the past year, and then also talk about the current needs, what's going on, and what's to come. So anybody...
Was one of these dinners, was it down at the convention center?
Yes.
One year? Okay, that's
Yes.
the one that I attended. We were there together.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually have moved it. We moved it last year to the Airport Hilton.
Yeah.
The Knoxville Airport Hilton, and that's where we're having it again this year.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's where we will have it on Tuesday, September 10th. As I mentioned, we are always scheduling trainings. So those are free. And so if you've got an organization, we've offered lunch and learns to businesses. We've of course done churches, church groups, both students and adults. But any organization that might be interested in us hosting a training, reach out to us. You can find all that information on the website.
Great.
But our prevention education director, Lisa, will get that scheduled. And then I would just encourage all parents, grandparents, caretakers, please do what you can to educate yourselves and your children. We offer those resources and through our trainings. And so that's just a huge call to action that I always want to put out there for anybody who is listening.
It's important. That's the first line of defense, really,
Yeah.
is through your parents, grandparents, caretakers, that situation.
The ones who are closest to our children.
Yeah.
And encouraging your workplace and your friends to discuss what's going on and how we're out there as a resource for that too. And then, as we said, people just come together and pray and pray and pray.
Yeah.
Because those prayers are working. We are seeing miracles in the house. We have so many stories to tell. Some we can't share, but we do have amazing testimonies that are going to be able to be shared one day.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I would just encourage everybody to stay in touch with us, to stay up on what's going on. And we always, of course, will take financial help as well.
Oh, yeah. Not going to turn that down.
That's right.
That's wise.
But we're just so thankful for this partnership that we share with West Park. You guys have been such dear friends to us, and this is really where it all began. So we're just so grateful
exciting.
for this church.
Another resource or way to help is Trees of Hope at Christmas time.
Yes.
Oh.
We've done it 2 years in a row at my workplace, and so that's always a good way to provide help for the victim survivors as well.
It is. It's a great way to do it. Churches often get involved with that too. And what that is when you put up a Christmas tree in your place of work or your church or wherever you have a group of people, you can hang tags that we give you on the trees, and people take the tags with them and they can purchase a gift for the home.
Awesome.
And so that's gift cards, maybe a cash donation toward a therapy session, things like that. So that's a really special event that we have each and every Christmas.
That's really neat.
Good.
I like it. Wow. Like I said, there's a lot we could talk about. But
Can I say one more thing?
yeah,
that
I was
meant
going to say, is there anything else you want to say?
Well, and I was going to say too, I know our volunteer situation is a little bit different than other nonprofits because you do have to volunteer in the home. You've got to go through some training and get background checked and all that. But we do have volunteer opportunities, and especially when those events come up like Trees of Hope and Hope Will Rise, even if you can't commit the required 6 months to volunteer in the home, you could also volunteer in our office as well.
Okay. Awesome.
So, yeah.
Would they find out about those opportunities on the website as well?
On the website or on social media,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, great. Well, I think that's wonderful. It has been so good to just sit and talk with you and hear about what's going on, and to hopefully to help people be more aware and to stop and to think about what they're seeing going on around them and to take action.
Yes, and to know that it's happening here, and it could even be in any of our neighborhoods.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, this is not. That is one thing I don't think we said that. Well, we touched on it, but this is not just in poor neighborhoods, or I mean, this crosses all socioeconomic lines.
Yes,
And so to be aware, to take the time, and to make it a point to do something if you see something.
yes.
As they say, see something, say something.
That's right. That's right. And I will also say that through our trainings, we've learned how often this is happening in churches as well. So as a church, I would just encourage everyone to be on the lookout and just really become a friend to these children who are in our churches and really get to be there as a mentor and a friend to them.
Yeah, I agree. Well, this has been a great conversation. And we even got to keep Pastor Al the whole time. I said he was leaving, but I knew he wouldn't leave.
It was just too compelling. I had to stay and hear this
I'm
story.
so glad you stayed.
Thanks for letting me do that.
Well, I did not feel comfortable kicking you out. I like having you around. But y'all, thanks for joining me today. And I
you.
really appreciate your time. And I look forward to hearing about what God does in the future.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you all next time on Impact the World.
Thank you for listening to Impact the World. To find out more about West Park Baptist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee, visit westparkbaptist.org.